When I see videos of people doing house cleanings or organizations, I notice that a lot of times the video will go viral. And if you look in the comments, it's because everybody's saying things like, how did they let it get so bad? What's wrong with them? This person's so lazy, and all of these other judgmental comments. And I honestly find it so upsetting because people who don't have ADHD or whatever the illness is have no idea why it is like that in the first place. I've worked with so many people who, for example, my first client ever, a bunch of comments on her post were saying like, oh, just get the motivation to do it yourself, like yada, yada, yada. And all she had asked was if anyone had a recommendation on someone who could clean her house and help her organize because it had been bad. I go to clean her house and we ended up becoming great friends, but she was in a wheelchair and all of these people who knew nothing about her are sitting there saying like, oh, well, why don't you just get the energy? Why don't you just do this? Yada, yada, yada. And she literally has chronic fatigue, all sorts of illnesses where even if she had wanted to, she couldn't. So I honestly just find it so upsetting because for me, I have horrible ADHD. So my room has looked worse than this so many times. That's why for me, it's not very overwhelming to try, walking into someone's place, and it can have a lot of organization needed, but it's nothing that I haven't seen before. And honestly, the people judging these people should see some of the houses I clean because some people leave it in such disgusting condition. And I get it. That's why you hire a maid and stuff, whatever. But if you're not paying someone that well and your bathroom looks like a house of horrors, like, that's not cool. So anyways, I find that much more upsetting than, somebody who just needed a little bit of help and their mental illness was overwhelming. And, I love being able to help. In this case, the dishwasher had been broken, and it totally makes sense how easy it can go from just, one bit of time where you let things get out of hand, and then it can be so overwhelming to try and process, well, where do I start? For me, for some reason, it's easier for me to help other people clean their place up than myself. So, it's a bit funny, but I try to use this to motivate me and to kind of think, well, I have ADHD. What helps me keep my home consistently more functional? Because that's how you keep it from getting bad, is you find methods, tips, and tricks and ways for it to just be functional. So if you're throwing all your bags of food on the floor and, you have a great counter, but there's no room to sit it on there, if you get a couple shelves and then you organize the boxes, the cans, and you're able to see what you actually have, you'll stop buying the same product and ending up with a whole bag of things that you didn't even realize you had. So a lot of times for people with ADHD and neurodivergent issues in general, and honestly anybody, it just really helps to have a visual idea of what items you have, to be able to see, oh, okay, I have granola, I don't need more from the store. How many of us have gone to the store and bought something and then come to find out we have a bunch of it and we just didn't see it. And of course, for me, I don't always know what will be best. I was trying to put these bags in this container. I was thinking maybe it'd be more functional. And, after trying, I realized that wasn't the best method. So, you kind of just have to gauge, okay, what do I think would look best here? What will be the most efficient and effective for keeping my house in order in the future? So I try to make sure there's easy access to items that are used a lot. So if you have ADHD or any of those issues, the things that you're using the most, you want to have immediate access to. So that's kind of where I think when I'm like trying to put things in order, I'll put the things that are used less in the back. The things that you use the most, you want to have right in the front so you can see. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of that hack where instead of having sauces in the door of your fridge, you put veggies and fruits. And it just helps us to see what we have, to not be purchasing more than we need or letting things get rotten because we can see it. And it sounds so simple, but it's honestly more about helping people get their place into a manageable state and then thinking, how can we fix this moving forward and make this space more manageable and functional for you? A huge component of ADHD and other mental illness in general that people don't understand is when you have a disorder where a symptom of it is impulsive spending, and sometimes you don't even need a disorder to do that. But what ends up happening is you have so much stuff, you don't know what to do with it. And then it gets even more overwhelming. But then you don't want to get rid of the stuff because you've either spent a ton of money on it, or you feel like you might need it, or there's sentimental value. It can be so hard. For me, I had to take pictures of things where I didn't really need them, but I wanted to be able to see them still if I wanted to reminisce. And honestly, that helped me quite a bit. It might not help everyone, and it can be specific to certain items. Obviously, you can't use a picture if you actually need it, but it can help with some sort of downsizing at times. Another thing that really helps me is I like to donate into different Facebook groups. So instead of taking it somewhere and you don't really see the effect it's having, you can see people who are actually in need and they don't even have to pay for it. Now they're getting it for free and they'll be so grateful. So many times I'll see little kids posting in that group and they'll be so thrilled to have something for their birthday or Christmas. So you can know that your item is going for good at least. It's not a full waste that you bought something and you didn't end up using it. So that's another huge thing that's helped me and that I recommend. Another thing too is it can look like so much more than it is when really it's just a lot of boxes that need to get recycled or something quite simple. This is something that could be solved with a chore chart or something quite simple like having a day of the week where, okay, I take my boxes out on Tuesday. Something, that it sounds very basic, but it kind of helps in terms of just not making it so much stuff. And I don't know, for me, for some reason, I have a hard time getting rid of boxes. I feel like I could use it for something or maybe I'll need it. So there's honestly so much that goes into it. I love getting to do this and I love getting to help people feel, not judged for whatever mess they have going on. I think it's so important to give people a safe space in order to feel, comfortable, or else, for hoarders, for example, that's why it can get so bad at times because, it's a bit bad and then they don't want to ask for help because it's embarrassing and then it gets even worse. So it's really important for me to make a safe space for any clients, and it's just the most important thing to me. So I hate those kinds of comments and I just think it's really ignorant and that you should learn, not to judge somebody else. And who cares? Even if they're just lazy and let it get bad anyways. Who cares? I get a job out of it and it's great.